Hi everybody, it's Susan from Sunrise Quilt Studio, and today I'm working on the Dresden Plate Quilt. And mostly what I'm doing is ripping out the quilting that I put in and decided I didn't like. So I'm going to work on that, and then I'm going to show you what I am doing for the borders and kind of go from there. Okay, I'm ready to start marking my quilting design. I decided I just wanted to do a feather all the way around this instead of doing something that took multiple parts and just needed to be really precise. So what I'm doing, this is a 6-inch border, and I want to find the midway point, so that would be 3 inches. So I have my 24-inch rotary cutting ruler here, and I've got it marked. This is the 3-inch mark here. So I've got it 3 inches from this side and 3 inches from this side, and I'm lining it up with the borders. And I'm going to mark this right now with my water-soluble pen, because I'm going to have to spray this anyway because I have other marks in here. So otherwise I would use my air-soluble marker, but this border is going to have to be sprayed down anyway. So, and I'm going to do this all the way across the border here, and this is actually one of the side borders, but I just have it loaded so it's at the top of the machine. So I'm going to go ahead and mark this all the way across. I have the center of the border marked vertically, so I know where my center mark is because I'll need that to help balance the design here in just a few minutes. I want to do this feather swag, so first thing I need to do is to do a corner in here, and I've got my 6-inch ruler and my 7-inch ruler, and this is really a little bit small for this border. So what I'm going to do, okay, this is the halfway point on this end of my circle here, so I just want to line it up so it's at the center, and I can tell that by just lining the tape up with the seam here, and I know the center of this slot is the center of the template going this direction, so I've got that halfway between the border here. So I know this is my circle, and of course this, if I follow the circle template, it's going to be about a 1/4 of an inch further out than that. And that's great, that'll work fine. But this is going to give me my starting point, and so I don't need my 6-inch, but I'll need this one for all the corners. And then the next thing I'm going to do is to take my swirls ruler, and this ruler has 2 different curves. It has a deep curve and it has a shallow curve, and I usually like the shallow curve for doing feathers, feather vines and feather plumes and that kind of thing. And my goal is to get this balanced between the line below it and above it, and to do that I just line the line that I drew on here with this straight edge on both sides, and that'll get me right in the middle. And that, to think I'm going to have to go up, this is going to come up about a 1/4 of an inch, which would be right about there. So that's going to come out right about there. I'm just going to mark both of these so I have an idea of where I'm going. And I just want that to kind of blend in. So since this curve is going around, I want it to come down and then up. Not, I could turn it this way and then the curve would go right back up, which would look kind of strange. So we're going to do it this direction. And I'm not using this ruler to quilt with, I'm just using it to mark the spine of the feather with, and I'll do this I'll quilt that without this ruler. So I'm going to do this twice. Just going to line this up and mark this twice, and then I'm going to the other edge and I'm going to do the same thing, and then I'm going to figure out what I need to do in the middle to kind of balance this out. Okay, what I've done is I went ahead and I did a 3rd tracing of this ruler, and what I have is I have about a ruler's worth of space in between the two where they ended. The problem is this one would go fine. This is coming up and then it'll go down and then go up, but this one is also going up. So it's not going to look right. So what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and do the swoop up. Right here. Flip it around and do the swoop up on this side. And instead of having this feather vein going all the way around, it's going to stop here. So I'm going to have to, I'll stop like the feather here. And these two will be coming together. So the feather, instead of going one direction all the way around, it's going to start from the corners and then move into the center of all the borders. So that's how I'm going to deal with this one. Now I could keep, like, shorten this curve and make it come up and have this just continue around. But frankly, today I just don't want to mess with that, so I'm not going to do that. So first thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to finish marking this border all the way around, and then I'm going to quilt in the spine of the feather, and then I'll come back and do the feathers themselves. I'm ready to start quilting now. I have my template all ready to go, and I've got the line here that I drew around it. I'm just going to line my template up right against that and then quilt around it with the hopping foot. And then once I get around this circle, I'm going to pull this away, and then I'm just going to follow this line. I'm not going to use the template I used to draw the veins. I'm just going to quilt over those, and then I'm going to come back to the center and I'll show you what I'm going to do here. So I'm in stitch regulated mode, and I switched my stitch length to 10 stitches per inch just because I really like that look better, and it's just my favorite stitch length on a quilt. So here we go. Okay, now I'm here at the point where it's blending into the spine that I drew, so I'm going to take this away. So I'm going to quilt the spine to the middle of the border and put in a little feather, and then I'm going to come back to the center. So my goal is to keep this as smooth as I can, so I'm trying to stay on the line, but that isn't as important as getting a smooth spine. But even if it isn't, that can be camouflaged with the feathers. So here's the end. I'm going to do my little feather and then stop here. And then I'm going to break my thread and go back to the center. Okay, now I drew a diagonal line from this corner down to the corner of the inner border. Now, since this feather isn't running all in one direction all the way around the quilt, it's starting in the corner and it's working its way out on both sides of the border. So this is the center of my feather, and what I want to do is to start quilting there in the center, and then I'm going to go towards the right, this side here, and I'm going to go ahead and draw a pretty good size feather here, so like a figure 8, and this is going to be my center point. Now these feathers are going to come around here, and they're going to go that direction all the way around, and these feathers on this side are going to curl that direction. So I'm going to try and position the camera so that you can see this a little better. I know it's really hard, but I think you can see at this point. Let me get the center one in and some of these feathers here, and I'm going to work on the outside first. So I'm going to secure my threads and do my figure 8. Like that. I'm just going to keep my thread tails out of my way, and they're okay here. And now I'm going to go ahead and quilt the feathers. And I'm going to move the camera to the back of the machine, so hopefully you can see a little bit better there. So now it's time to get started on these feathers. So I'm going to go ahead and start building up around this figure 8 I quilted in. Now I'm going to try and make these feathers fairly big because the quilting inside the blocks isn't going to be that dense, and I don't want this to be super dense. So we're going to work on that and see if I can make these some chunky feathers. And if you notice, they're not, I don't know if you can see, but they're not all at the same height. I'm alternating the heights. Some are taller and some are shorter. That's just to give it a little bit more interest. And on this one, I'm going to put a little short feather in here. Now I'm just going to continue all the way down to the end of that feather, and then I'll show you how I'm going to handle that part of it. Okay, here we go. Here is the end of the feather, and I'm holding the camera, so I'm afraid it's a little bit shaky. As you can see, the feathers here, I've kept them fairly big. Here they're about 2 finger widths. This is one that I had laying down, and then I just came back and built up over those. And then we're getting close to the end here. This is the one that I quilted in with the spine when I did the spine. So I have one laying down, and then I'm starting to build up right against that, and that fills in this space fairly well. It's not right up against my middle line here, but I could squeeze one in there, but I think it wouldn't look too natural, so I'm just going to leave it like that. And now I'm going to go back and I'm going to start working on the bottom feathers here. Now these feathers here in this area here, they're going to come around and curl around this figure 8 on this side. So I'm going to have to start my thread over here, start quilting from this point. So secure my stitches, and then I'm going to work around. And so I've got 2 feathers that will just wrap around there, and I've got my line here to show me where to stop. And then I'll do the same thing on this side when I get around to this part of the feather. So now I'm just going to continue quilting in my feathers along this spine and do the same thing on the end that I did at the top. Okay, we've got the figure 8 and the feathers that are building up around it. And then I went right away and put in a little feather down here because it was wanting to kind of lay down anyway, so I did that and then built the feathers up around that, and then just carried them all on. And then I'll show you what I did at the end. And here's the feather that I did with the spine, and then the feathers here at the bottom, I just built them up as they fit, and then there was a little extra one here. There was enough space for another one, and so we've got this look here. And I know this white on white is really hard to see, and I hope this will show up well. But let me see if I can draw that with my marker. I can open it one-handed. But here's a feather here. And then I came around and did this one. Came up and did this one. And I backtracked and then came and did this one here. So that's how that looks. And then over here, let me show you kind of what that looked like. So hopefully you can see that a little bit better, but that's how the end of that feather looks. So now I'm going to go ahead and do this other corner and then bring it over this way. I'm getting ready to work on this yellow border now, and I'm going to draw you out the design I decided to do here. And this is going to be a combination of a leaf and a swirl. And so I've got plastic over here. I've got the machine ready to go, but I'm going to see if I can get this to show up. I'm going to come up with a swirl, and it's going to be a loose swirl, meaning I'm not going to go right on top of it. So I'm going around it, and then I'm going to come up and do a leaf, and then I'll come back down and do another swirl, and then another leaf, and I'm going to do this all the way across. So I'm going to move this plastic and start quilting, and I hope you can see this. The fabric's busy and the thread is white, so you may not be able to see a whole lot of this, but we'll give it a try. Okay, so I've just finished a leaf here, so I'm going to go ahead and do a swirl. So I'm going to come around and do the swirl. And then come up and do a leaf, and then go back and do another swirl. And then do another leaf. So I'm going to do this all the way across on this yellow border, and then I'll give you a close-up and we'll see if we can see that. Now I'm working on the side borders, and I've decided to do a freehand flower and leaf design with a swirl in it, and I'm going to start in the center. I'm going to do a flower in the center, and then I'm going to work out on both sides. So I'm going to start here and then go this direction, and I'm hoping you'll be able to see some of this. So this is the center of my border here, and I'm going to start with a flower, and this is the same flower I'm going to be putting in the block. So I'm going to start with a circle, and then I'm going to do the petals. And I'm going to stop here to clip this thread so I don't get tangled up in it. And do one more petal. And now I'm going to go this direction, so I'm going to sneak around, and I'm going to come out here and I'm going to do some leaves. There's one. And two. And I'll do one more this direction. And then I'm going to come and do a swirl right here. Come back around. And then I'm going to go up through here, and I'm going to do another flower. And so there's the center and the petals. And I'm just going to quilt right over this stem here. And I'll come out and do a leaf. And a swirl. The swirl just kind of takes up space. And then come and do another flower. So I'm going to quilt this out, and then I will bring the camera over here and show you what that looks like. I want to show you the quilting from the back, because you really can't see much from the front because the fabrics are so busy, and on the outer border the white on white just is not showing. So here's the feather. You can see here's the corner, and how I did the figure 8 and brought the feathers around. And then we have here, you can see the feathers are going 2 different directions, right from the center here. They're going out, and then they go on across, and then this feather vine ends right here in the center, right there. and then the other feather on that side ends there. So that goes all the way across. And there's the other corner. Now we'll roll this up so you can see the design I quilted into the yellow border, and there is the swirl and the leaf design there. And then I'll show you the inner side border. Okay, here's the inner side border. This is the blue border from the front. I did the flower with branched off with some feathers and a swirl, and just filled in with feathers and swirls to kind of take up space. So this is also a design that starts in the middle of that border and then works its way towards the side. So here is the center flower right here, and then I worked side to side there. So there is that border. I think that turned out pretty well. And there's places like here where there's quite a bit of space. I can go in and put another leaf or a swirl. Those are things that I will look at before I take the quilt off the machine. I'll look for spaces like that that I can fill in. And you'll also know I did an extra line of quilting here. This is the stitch in the ditch between the two borders, and then I did a 1/4 inch line of stitching here to kind of frame that border and separate it from the others. And so here we go. This is what I've got so far, and my next step will be to work on the blocks, and I'll do the background and the plates, and hopefully I'll have that up for you next week. Well, that's it for this video today. I hope you enjoyed the video on the quilting the borders for the Dresden plate. And if you like this video, I hope you will click like, and if you haven't subscribed yet, I hope you will click that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you can be notified when a new video comes up. And don't forget to share this video with your quilting friends. Now I'm trying my best to get 2 videos up a week. On Tuesday will be a quilting video. On Fridays is a piecing video. So coming up on Friday will be another quilt block that I've pieced together out of scraps in my stash. And then the next Tuesday will be the Dresden plate. Hopefully I will have some work done on the block so you can see how I'm doing on that. So thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. For more quilting ideas, click on the video links. And to keep up with my newest projects, click on the subscribe button. I hope to see you again soon.